Pac-12 started here on Locked On Wildcats.
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for keeping it Locked On Wildcats. I'm your host, Mike Luke. All right, now we have a pretty good idea right now of where what Arizona's starting lineup could look like, where the pieces are. Now, let's break it down first again. You're probably looking at a backcourt of Kylan Boswell and Jaden Bradley. Nothing wrong with that at all. Again, very good work on Tommy Lloyd for being able to salvage that situation right there. Then you're probably looking at Pella Larson, and then you're also looking at Umar Ballo. So there's probably 4 spots right there that are being taken up. Now, again, as we know, Pella's a little bit of a unique situation because for whatever reason, Pella does much better coming off the bench than starting. That's going to be an interesting one to see how that does play out. I really have no clue on that one. Now, look at some other guys then that you have. You got Henry Vasar, you got Dylan Anderson, you got a bunch of different dudes. So, but Arizona is definitely not done here. I would be surprised if that 4th starter is currently on this roster, or that 5th starter is currently on this roster. I would, I don't know. That'll be an interesting thing to see. But we will find that one out. But now let's look around the rest of the conference then, because here's where it gets interesting. At first, I think Oregon's probably going to be the preseason favorite to win the conference. And again, Oregon has been incredibly dysfunctional these past couple years with a roster that just hasn't really seemed to fit. And I think that's something that's a little bit on Dana Altman right there. But kind of is what it is right there. But you look at their roster right now. You got N'Faly Dante at that big man spot. Then you got next to him, you're probably going to have KJ Evans. After that, you got Mookie Cook. You got Jackson Shellstad. You got a lot of different pieces to be able to break down. Now, how is this team going to actually fit together right here? Now, I think in Dante, you're returning probably the best big man in the conference. If he's not the best big man, he's right there. And on the perimeter, again, that's where it gets a little interesting. You got Keyshawn Bartholomew, who's just kind of meh, but he doesn't stink. And again, you got a ton of talent right there. I'm curious to see how this fits. Then you got the Devin Cambridge from Arizona State going to Oregon as well, giving him some depth there as well. So again, you got all the pieces. It'll be interesting to see if Dana Altman can get these pieces to fit, because in the past couple of years, he has not been able to get these pieces to fit. Then you're looking at USC. USC with Andy Enfield, who I think is an underrated coach, has done a pretty good job so far there. And you look up front, you got Boogie Ellis. You got Boogie Ellis. You've got Vince Iwuchukwu, Vince the Prince. I do like that nickname. Big fan of Vince. And then you got Isaiah Collier coming in as well. Isaiah Collier is a big-time prospect, a big-time player out of Georgia, arguably the best player in the class. I don't think a lot of people thought that Boogie Ellis would be coming back with Isaiah Collier in the fold. So there is that. And then you lose Trey White, but you still got Kobe Johnson. You got Jordan Morgan up front, and you're probably going to get Bronny James. So that right there is a pretty good. That's a pretty good unit right there. Now that's kind of where it's at with the squad right there. Now those are, I think, the 2 best teams in the Pac-12, but if you look at them, you look how strong they are, you might say to themselves, Mike, are they consuming Built Bar? They very well could be consuming Built Bar right there. And the reason that they could be consuming Built Bar is because of how strong they are. And that is the thing that I think a lot of people have to look at and say, man, that's a really good point there, Mike. The great thing about Built Bar, too, is that when you hit the scene, when you go to when you go to get a Built Bar, you walk into GNC and it tastes good. You don't have to worry about that chalky aftertaste or anything like that. Everybody likes Built Bar, and there's a reason that everybody likes Built Bar. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to talk about the rest of this starting lineup right here. Thanks for keeping it locked on, Wildcats. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, we've got now let's talk about Arizona and UCLA, kind of the standard bears in the conference. I think UCLA is going to stink this year. You lost, you just look at it. You lost Amari Bailey. You lost Tiger Campbell. You lost Jaime Jaquez. You lost Bona. You lost Jalen Clark. That's 5 possible NBA players right there, or high-level college players, whichever way you want to slice it. Those guys are all good. You don't want to lose track of that. Now, I think with UCLA, you should always be able to reload to a certain extent, but I also think that Mick Cronin has proven to not be an incredibly dynamic recruiter. So I could see UCLA taking a real step back this season. And honestly, because I just don't know where they are. Now, everybody in Tucson's freaking out about where Arizona is in the grand scheme of things. Rightfully so, because, there certainly are some questions. But Arizona still got their point guard in Kylan Boswell. Now, granted, UCLA has got Dylan Andrews in the fold. Dylan Andrews is very, very good. Then you've got, but after that, Arizona's got Jaden Bradley at the 2. UCLA's got Will McClendon? Not good. Then you've got Etienne, you got Nwabu, you got a whole bunch of different things. You got a whole bunch of different pieces in play, which are not ideal, which are not good. So that's kind of where it is with UCLA. Now, I think if you're Arizona, you're like, man, we got Umar Ballo up front, leader of men, Umar Ballo, and a variety of other options as well, other guys that'll probably be coming in. So I think Arizona is clearly the 3rd best team in the conference. I thought that ASU had a chance for that, but ASU has lost essentially everybody. And so, again, they're going to take a step back. But in the Pac-12, I think that there are clearly 2 teams, Oregon and USC, and then pretty much everybody else. But one thing that we can't forget, though, is that Tommy Lloyd has shown an ability to be able to bring in really good players, and not only bring in really good players, but to be able to coach them up to a level that I think a lot of people have been surprised by, including yours truly right there. But so again, not going to underrate, but I also don't believe that they have nearly the star power that those other schools do have right there. Could be wrong. This always comes down to me for pros. How many pros do you have on a roster? And I think with Arizona, I don't know that you have any guaranteed pros. With these other schools, you definitely have some guaranteed pros and some all-conference guys that are already all-conference players. So that's kind of where the Pac is. It's going to be an interesting year because this is the last year that the Pac is. This is the last year that the Pac, is going to be in the situation that it's in. We'll find out, but it would be great to see UCLA sent off on a bummer note, and heck, even USC. All right, we're going to take a quick break right here. We'll be right back. Thanks for keeping it locked on, Wildcats. I'm your host, Mike Luke. A few technical issues here, so the pod's going to be a little bit shorter today, but I wanted to kind of break down the Pac-12 for you right now and where everything stands, because there's a lot to unpack here. First, like I said, with Arizona and UCLA, you could probably count on one finger. You could probably count on one hand the amount of times that each school has gone into the season not being the favorite in the conference. The one of those 2 schools, that's going to be the case this year. Oregon and UCLA or USC are clearly the 2 best teams. And again, I'm not breaking any news right there. But again, it is very weird to see UCLA in the kind of situation they are. But one thing I will say is that you have to, with both these schools, you have to be, or you just know that they're going to be able to reload That's just the way that Arizona and UCLA are. The transfer portal changes everything. Arizona's got to be able to take advantage of the transfer portal, and I believe UCLA probably will as well, unfortunately, because think about it this way. If you're a college kid and you're like, man, where could I go to boost my stock, play some more, and also be able to be on a prominent program? UCLA and Arizona are going to be on that short list right there for a variety of reasons, as we know. But those are the schools right there that really matter. Washington isn't any good. Colorado, I do like Utah's coach a great deal, but they're not very good either. Cal is awful. Stanford's awful. There's a lot of really bad basketball teams in the Pac-12 this coming year, but I think at the top it's going to be pretty good. So that's kind of where the conference is, though. And again, Arizona is not done making moves. I'm going to keep mentioning that. Arizona is not going to be they're not going to be done making moves. And who knows? Maybe you get an all-conference player in there that changes the narrative around. It would not surprise me in the least. Got to have faith in Tommy Lloyd right there, because again, Tommy Lloyd has certainly shown us that we should have faith in him. But that's kind of where the conference is right now. That's another reason I'd like to see Arizona get to the Big 12 as soon as possible, because I think that playing against real teams would make a little bit of a difference. So on that note, going to take a quick break, but we will be back with you Monday. And we're going to have a lot of talk to get to. We're going to got some off-season football news, obviously, and more Arizona basketball as always. But as always, appreciate everybody here tuning in. You guys are the ones that make the show. Keep it locked on, Wildcats. Have a great weekend, and we will see you.